I'm a 26-year-old man who was recently engaged to a 27-year-old woman I'll call Ellie. We were supposed to get married next month. Unfortunately, I discovered a shocking betrayal that forced me to call off the wedding and ghost her completely. Ellie and I had been together for over 4 years, and we've known each other for 5. Last summer, Ellie brought up the idea of marriage. Although I hadn't seriously considered it before, her proposal made me realize I wanted to take the next step with her. I loved her deeply, and everything about our relationship felt right. We planned a spring wedding, and earlier this year, I proposed with a ring. Ellie gave me one in return on Valentine's Day, solidifying our commitment. Life felt perfect until it all came crashing down. Ellie went on a 2-day work trip, leaving me home alone. Since my laptop crashed that morning, I decided to use our shared home PC to finish my work. To my surprise, Ellie's personal email was open on a minimized browser window. Suddenly, I saw an email notification pop up with the name Felix. I knew Felix was Ellie's college ex-boyfriend, someone she had assured me she was no longer in contact with. Out of curiosity and then growing suspicion, I opened the email. What I found was devastating. It was a lengthy email thread filled with explicit messages between Ellie and Felix. She wrote about how she missed him every day and vividly described her sexual fantasies about him. The messages were so explicit, they made me physically ill. Her words painted a picture of deep emotional and physical longing for him, despite us being in a committed relationship and planning a wedding. Worse, she complained about me to him. In one email, she compared me unfavorably to Felix, even mocking my physical attributes. It felt like a cruel slap in the face, especially considering how Ellie had always assured me of her love and satisfaction in our relationship. After reading those emails, I knew I couldn't continue with the wedding or the relationship. I decided to ghost Ellie immediately. I stopped answering her calls and texts, giving her no indication of what I'd discovered. Over the next 2 days, I acted swiftly. I changed the locks on our home, packed up all of Ellie's belongings, and sent them to a storage unit. I deleted her contacts and personal photos from the home PC, withdrew my share of our joint wedding savings account, and canceled all wedding arrangements, securing refunds where possible. I told my parents and brother that the wedding was off, citing Ellie's emotional infidelity without going into explicit details. They were incredibly supportive and reassured me of their unconditional love. When Ellie returned home, she found herself locked out. The storage receipt for her belongings was waiting at the door. Her reaction was exactly what I expected, a mix of confusion, anger, and desperation. She bombarded me with texts and voicemails, demanding answers. At first, she begged me to work things out, swearing she loved me. Then, she accused me of cheating on her, projecting her guilt onto me. Once her messages turned abusive, I blocked her completely. I've since moved into a motel temporarily to sort out my next steps. Thankfully, the wedding invitations hadn't been sent out yet, sparing me the hassle of explaining the cancellation to extended family and friends. Though the pain of her betrayal is still fresh, I feel lighter knowing I dodged a lifetime of lies. I've kept evidence of her infidelity, those emails, as a precaution, but I haven't shared them with anyone. This experience has been a roller coaster, but I've learned the value of self-respect and the importance of trusting my instincts. While it hurts to let go of someone I once loved, I know I deserve a partner who values me wholeheartedly. To anyone going through something similar, remember, you're stronger than you think, and brighter days are ahead. She thought I was inside and began banging on the door and windows relentlessly. Her voice, loud and unhinged, echoed through the neighborhood until angry neighbors emerged, demanding she stop the commotion. She only retreated when their yelling overpowered hers. But Ellie wasn't done. The very next day, she showed up at my workplace. Fortunately, I had anticipated this move. I had informed reception that any visitors asking for me should be told I was on an indefinite sabbatical. Later, I learned she left a note at the front desk. It read, You can't hide from me, you son of a witch. I'm going to hunt you down and rip you apart. I stared at the note, stunned and enraged. After everything she had done, she still had the audacity to spew such venom. My blood boiled. For a brief moment, I wanted to confront her, to call her out on her despicable actions. But then I realized this was exactly what she wanted, a reaction. Ellie thrived on manipulation, knowing how to twist emotions to her advantage. I forced myself to calm down, taking deep breaths to prevent myself from spiraling. Her games wouldn't destroy me. Feeling suffocated by everything, I decided to focus on work. I called my manager and requested permission to work remotely, explaining that I needed some space to deal with personal matters. He was understanding and approved my request, even encouraging me to take it easy. For the next month, I lived in a secluded motel on the outskirts of town, far from familiar faces. The isolation brought a strange sense of solace. After days of locking myself in my room, I ventured outside. The surrounding woods and an abandoned lake became my sanctuary. Walking among the towering trees and staring at the still water felt therapeutic, a small reprieve from the chaos Ellie had left in her wake. Just as I felt I was beginning to heal, the wedding date loomed closer. Some friends and relatives remembered, and their concerned calls started trickling in. Explaining to them what had happened was like reopening a fresh wound. The disbelief in their voices mirrored my own. My best friend, who had spent a lot of time with both Ellie and me, was especially shaken. I asked him if he had ever noticed signs of deceit or resentment from her. He admitted he hadn't. To him, Ellie had always seemed like the perfect partner. It made me wonder, had I been blind to the truth, or was Ellie simply that skilled at hiding her manipulative side? Talking about her betrayal with my friends didn't bring the relief I had hoped for. Instead, it deepened my misery. Among the lingering issues was our honeymoon trip to Alaska. When canceling the wedding arrangements, I had tried to cancel the trip too. Unfortunately, it was non-refundable, and the insurance didn't cover it. Instead of wasting the booking, I decided to go. At the same time, I worried Ellie might follow me since she knew about the itinerary. Thankfully, I had deleted her access to my account, so she couldn't see the updated details. Confident she wouldn't find me, I packed my bags and flew to Alaska. I arrived at a cozy cabin nestled in the Alaskan wilderness, surrounded by breathtaking landscapes. Here, I hoped to leave behind my worries and insecurities. But life had other plans. One evening, as I wandered through a desolate area, I noticed someone approaching from a distance. Initially, I thought nothing of it, but as the figure drew closer, my heart sank. It was Ellie, her face twisted with a mix of anger and desperation. "How could you ghost me like this?" she yelled, her voice trembling. She claimed to have searched everywhere for me, and finally guessed I might still take the trip. Somehow, she had pieced together enough information to find me. She followed me, ranting about how unfair I had been. We had plans, marriage, a baby. "You ruined it all," she shouted. Her words made my blood boil. I turned to her, my voice sharp. "Really? You think I ruined everything? You mocked me, lied to me, and betrayed me. I've lost all respect for you." She tried to justify herself. "That wasn't cheating," she insisted. "It was all just words." I never acted on anything. When I brought up her sexting fantasies and mocking me to her ex, she shamelessly dismissed it as a joke, saying it was just for fun. Her blatant disregard for my pain shattered any lingering sympathy I might have had. I told her I wasn't interested in her excuses or apologies. That's when she seemed to realize the gravity of what she had done. She broke down, pleading for another chance. Her reasoning? I never physically cheated, and we've invested so many years in this relationship. Her self-centeredness disgusted me. She wasn't apologizing out of genuine remorse, but because I had derailed her timeline. Married by 28, baby by 30. I told her to leave, warning that I would report her for trespassing if she followed me back to the resort. She collapsed to the ground, crying hysterically, but I didn't look back. Returning to my cabin, I packed my bags and prepared to leave. The confrontation had been draining, yet it brought an unexpected sense of closure. For the first time, I felt free. I could finally move forward. As I head home, I feel lighter. This chapter of my life is over, and I'm ready to start anew. Writing this all down has been cathartic. Maybe I'll continue journaling. After all, it feels good to unload these emotions. Cheers to new beginnings and leaving the past where it belongs.